Oh, the ladies.
Just tell her because we have Jamie here. I'll for some. What item? What item are you?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Williamsport City Council meeting. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. It is 7 p.m. here at Trade and Transit 2. Please rise for the invocation by Councilman Adam Yoder.
Lord, quiet the noise that pulls us from what matters. Help us set aside the distractions, the urgent that drowns out the important, and the divisions that obscure our common work. Give us clear minds to see our neighbors' needs, steady hands to do the work before us, and humble hearts to serve the community well. May we leave this place more focused on our purpose, to build a city where we can all flourish and to tend to the common good with wisdom and care. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, approval of City Council meeting minutes from January 8th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any questions about the meeting minutes? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Item number 4, limited courtesy to the floor. I believe we've had no requests this evening. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. All right, and we do have some guests here tonight, so we're going to jump around just a little bit. We will jump down first to item number 13.
Resolution rejecting all quotes received for emergency owner occupied housing rehabilitation and authorizing the city to take such action that is necessary to obtain a reasonable quote.
Do I have a motion, please? So move. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So tonight we are here to talk about the Community Development Block Grant Emergency Rehab Program. We put out bids for 3 homes that are involved in this program. We unfortunately only received 1 bid each for 2 of the homes and 0 bids for the final home. So unfortunately, we have to reject those per our procurement standards. The program itself, our office runs. And basically what we do is we field calls from homeowners who have emergencies. So roofs, plumbing issues, things like that, can't wait for us to move on other funding programs or refer them out to other agencies. And so they come to us, we're able to work them through a limited pool of CDBG funds that we have set aside each year. And we're able to work through that with Jamie Schroeder from CEDACOG, who does a lot of the intake and things of that nature. And then she helps us to procure bids for these homeowners. The issue that we sort of, I think, ran into this time was that when we went out for the pre-bids, we had a lot of questions from the contractors, specifically regarding like bid specs and things like that, because I'm not trained to do, I can go out and help with our codes team and see like this is an issue and we need to, fix it. Anyone can look at a roof and see a giant hole and say, we need to, make this not have that. But unfortunately, we don't have anyone on our team, whether it's our staff or codes department, that can go out and say, yes, there's a problem here, but this is how we fix it. This is how much it would cost so that we can go out and get good bids for the city and for the homeowners. So our ask here tonight is to unfortunately reject the bids that we received for these homeowners, but then allow us to move forward in a way that helps us secure better bids for not just these folks, but for anyone else who comes through this program.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions from members of council regarding this?
How many bidders, how many contractors would you say you had express initial interest versus?
So we had 6, I believe, at our pre-bids for these homes. And we only had 1 put in a formal bid on 2 of the homes, and then he didn't submit a bid for the 3rd home.
And the complication with the third home was more complicated, I assume?
Yeah, it was, the issues were, so they had a roof issue and they had a plumbing issue, and there are not a lot of roofers who do plumbing, and there are not a lot of plumbers who do roofing, so,
So you would have had to have a
yeah,
kind of multi-purpose.
yeah, but,
contractor in that.
and I think, you know, they may have been willing to sub out either whichever they weren't qualified for, but without having proper bid specs for them to take to potential subcontractors and stuff, it just made it way more difficult than
Yeah,
it needed to be for, on their end, to justify putting in a bid for a singular home like this.
right. And how much money do we generally have to spend on these renos? I mean, I understand it's partly predicated on what the bid is, but
Yeah, so I mean, annually, our department sets 75,000 aside per year for these homes. And then however many homes is just predicated on how much each individual project costs. We're able to pre-qualify them, like we're able to, you know, work them through the income verification process in advance. But it's one of those ones where if we do these 3 homes and we have 5 on the waiting list, we gotta wait till next year,
Yeah.
or try and find them other resources, whether it be, you know, one of our community action agencies or whatever the case may be.
understood. And what's the proposed solution for the lack of expertise in the department?
So, we have an RFP ready that we would go out and solicit for inspector services, where basically they would be qualified to help us identify. They would do the initial site walk with me, so that we're able to say like, yeah, there's a hole in the roof, but what's causing it, you know, and things like that. But then also be able to give us a approximate cost, so that we're able to tell them, you know, like, we know what's within the 81-20% CDBG allowable range.
Right. Yeah, I gotta say, it does seem like the program comes with so much paperwork that it would be daunting as a contractor to take that on. So
Yeah.
it seems like we're gonna need to really meet people where they're at if we're gonna get anywhere with it. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you.
Is there anything else regarding this item?
Eric, I have a question.
Yes, Bonnie.
Bonnie, I think you're muted.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I took my finger off. From what I understand, and this goes back years, is that we have a list of people that do electric. Wouldn't it be maybe to our advantage if we also started maintaining a list of people for roofing and for, you know, infrastructure? You know, I think it might help you, it might help everybody. Do you think that's, or is that too overcoming at this point?
No, I think that's certainly within like what our staff is working on in coordination with Jamie at CEDACOG, you know. This initial outreach, we did have, you know, lists of contractors that prior staff had utilized. We also used the chamber. They have like the listing there that we were able to tap into. Our goal here is that as we are able to work with these different contractors, we'll be able to, you know, have a list that we know are pre-qualified, for lack of a better term, and able to, you know, be utilized for these projects. We know that they do good work. We know that they are able to put in bids that are affordable. And so that's our goal here, but moving forward, we're kind of starting from a blank slate. Got it.
I can understand that, and we're on the same path, I think, finding the right people to do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
One last question.
Go right ahead.
Austin, the professional services, I'm assuming will not come back before us for any sort of approval, right? You guys can go straight ahead and hire the housing rehab inspector without.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, okay. I was gonna say professional services do not require 3 quotes, so you should be good. And I'm assuming it won't come out to an amount that would require council approval.
I don't
Okay.
believe so, no.
And if you
Uh,
wouldn't mind, if I could jump in, this is Jamie. real quick. I just wanted to let everybody know I did have a conversation today with Joe Lyons, who is with, I just looked at it and I can't remember, code inspections. He works with the redevelopment authority on their stuff, and he also works with Clinton County on there, and he's well versed in all of these programs. So it's very encouraging. He plans to put in a proposal for this program. So that makes me happy that we do at least have one code agency that knows what's going on with this program and knows what they're doing. So I think we'll get a positive response to our request for quotes for this upcoming effort.
Thank you for that, Jamie.
Sure.
Well, my question, and maybe somebody with more construction knowledge than myself can answer this, but is this not, you say we don't have anybody on the codes department currently that can do this. Is this not something you can learn how to do? Would that be more cost effective? The teaching our codes guys how to do this as opposed to going out and hiring a third
I
party
was gonna say,
contractor?
BCO can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, that would be,
Again, I don't know
guess,
what kind of-
conversation with Gary. I'm
Right.
I'm not gonna.
I don't know what
speak on
kind of-
behalf Their department. They did do thankfully, they were able to go out and do the initial ones with me. Because otherwise it would have just been me walking through folks' homes trying to go, yeah, that's bad, all right. And so,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, we definitely should be a hole there.
I guess again,
That to add a little bit of clarification, I think what the issue was really, so yes, the codes department did go out with Austin and look at all of these projects and say, you know, this is not meeting code, this door is insufficient, this roof is insufficient. What we came up against was we could tell you and you and you and you that we need a new exterior door, and you may buy a $6,000 door and you may buy an $800 door and you may buy a $2,000 door. So we would have contractors coming in and looking at it and saying, yeah, we'll get a door for that. And one of them is coming back and quoting, you know, your basic $800 door. One of them is coming back and quoting a $4,000 door. So we need someone in the middle who's like actually writing up specs, like actual project specs to say, you need to source this exact thing, you need to source this exact material, you need to do it in this exact way. And that's where we're not comfortable as a department giving those construction specs. So that we were not able to get from the codes department.
again, my question is that something that somebody at the codes department who should already have some knowledge on homes and what it takes to get them up to code to be able to do something like that? Like, again, I don't know what training is involved in this. I mean,
It doesn't strike me as exactly a codes function, which is why it's curious to me that Jamie's saying that there's another codes department. You know what I mean? Like it is a
Right.
little different. Writing bid specs is not a standard. I'm not saying that our codes department couldn't learn to do it as well as anybody else, but I'm curious that there is a codes department that proposes to provide that.
I believe the gentleman that she's referring to has a business that does codes
Yes.
inspections.
okay.
Yeah,
Again,
it's a much larger undertaking than just code enforcement. It's a
Yeah.
code assessment. They're called, they do, I can only just say birth to burial. They do everything with all of these projects. So
And I think it's a couple things. It's one, if we just identify someone who is willing to do this work for us and they're just sort of, for lack of a better word, baked into the project, right? When we identify them, they come out, they do the specs, we're able to, you know, pay them with CDBG funds that, you know, that's where the money from this project comes out of. It would be a very small cost to incur in order to have really consistent bid specs for us to be able to do this work without going back and forth with contractors. And the second thing is, it's our hope that we're able to identify more diverse funding sources that will allow us to do home rehab projects without using CDBG funds. There are higher uses of CDBG funds, and there are funding sources that allow us to do this type of work with much less red tape and much less compliance. So we are using our CDBG funds to do home rehab projects because there is a great need in the city, and we have not yet been awarded a different funding source, but we have already put in some applications for some other funding sources. So to answer your question, John, I think this is a Band-Aid for this year in order to get through these projects. And then we'll take a step back and look and see whether or not this program continues with this funding source. And if it does, what's the best way to make that happen?
great. Okay. And then I guess just generally speaking, and maybe this has been discussed at some point in the last 6 years since I've been here, but how do people exactly find out about this program? What kind of efforts are being made to let the community at large know that this is out there for them to utilize if they qualify for it and need it?
Yep. So at this point, we work with all the other housing service providers that provide similar services. So STEP will give people our information and take referrals. They get referrals from thousands. I think it's like 3,700 families that they serve every year. So if they have families that they can't serve through their home rehab program, they'll refer them to us. Right now, it's calls that just come in to Austin's office and he fields them. And there's no need to advertise the program beyond just getting referrals from social service agencies and the calls that we just sort of, naturally take by someone saying, hey, reach out to the city, reach out to the mayor. Austin works with the Center for Independent Living. A lot of the calls come from relationships with them because people are seeking accessibility improvements to their homes and things like that. So it's mostly the local agencies that are already serving these priority populations that are making the referrals to us.
Thank you very much for that. Seeing and hearing nothing else then, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Member Scouse.
We'll move on to item number 14.
Resolution of the City Council approving a substantial amendment to the home ARP allocation plan.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. As you'll remember, the city received $134,000 in home ARP funds, which was a COVID-specific home allocation that we received in 2021. Those funds were to be used to further the work of homeless service providers, essentially, in the city during COVID and try to offer some additional resources to them. Jamie Schroeder has been working with us on this, and I'm going to default to her to explain the details of this substantial amendment that we're proposing.
Sure, thank you. So the city originally allocated funds to the YWCA for acquisition and development of non-congregate shelter work, and also to no one in particular at the time for development of affordable rental housing. However, we did not get any proposals from developers for the affordable rental housing piece, and the piece with the YWCA for the non-congregate shelter. Once we reviewed all of the regulations that HUD had in place for the home ARP program, it was really discovered that the YWCA could not meet all of those regulations. For instance, they wanted each new unit to have their own bathroom. There's just no space at the YWCA for that kind of thing. However, STEP, who put in for supportive services and capacity and operations, did have additional need for funding for those programs. So it is our recommendation for your home ARP funding that you move the funding out of the non-congregate shelter and development of rental housing into additional supportive services that will be offered by STEP, and a little bit out of the operating funds, which will also go into the supportive services. STEP didn't need quite as much operating money as was originally allocated. So that is what we are proposing as the amendment for your home ARP funds.
Are there any questions regarding this item? Liz Mealy.
Thanks. Yeah, just, is STEP's need for additional funding and supportive services, is that money actually going to fund new supportive services, or is it backfilling monies that they didn't receive in some other area?
That's a
I
great
think
question. Go ahead, Jamie. Nope, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's kind of a combination of both. So there are new programs that would be available through home ARP, and I've read about them. I can't speak to them specifically right off the top of my head. I have the paperwork in front of me, but it would take a while to go through all of the things that are applicable to the home ARP.
I was just looking for a high level answer. I don't need to know.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there are a whole bunch of things that they can do to help prevent and deal with homelessness, housing counseling, mental health counseling, rental assistance, transportation assistance. It's really a whole lot of categories that they could put the funding towards. So I think both it can support what they are already doing and some new services they intend to offer.
Excellent.
I can add, Liz, one of the things that Rochelle shared with us when we spoke with them about this was they had a funding source that either they were seeking or they had previously that was not renewed, that was helping the individuals who are staying at Code Blue, the shelter at First Church. So STEP is providing essentially case management services to those individuals, and their funding source that they had for that fell through. So we will be able to fund that with these funds, which
Okay.
I'm
For an
really
additional
excited about
year?
personally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Does it
Yeah.
get them an additional year or longer than that?
Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this will be a 3-year spend down. They have to have these funds spent by the end of 2030. So this will give them the
Yes.
ability to do that for 3 years.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you, guys.
Any other questions regarding this item? Seeing and hearing none, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We'll move to item number 15, please.
Resolution authorizing award of professional services to Hunt Engineer Architects, Land Surveyors, and Landscaping Architect LLC for engineering services to construct improvements to Newberry Park.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Great, thank you. This one may look a little familiar to you. We had previously awarded engineering services for Newberry Park to Bricks, and Bricks has since dissolved. So they were not able to fulfill their contract with the city. So we had to seek additional engineering services for this, and we proposed to work with Hunt. So Chris Kaiser, who was previously working at Bricks, is now working at Hunt. So we'll have the opportunity to retain his knowledge of the project and get the engineering finished this winter so that we can break ground on this park in the spring, which is very important because some of the funds through HUD that are in this park project are set to expire in August of 2026. So it's very important that we keep this project moving.
Liz Mealy?
Any additional cost to the city from the dissolution of one firm and switch to another? Good.
None.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions related to this item? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Item number 16, please.
Resolution of the City Council approving a minor amendment to the fiscal year 2020 action plan to CDBG.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I will defer to Jamie on this one, please, Jamie.
Sure, absolutely. So originally we had allocated $98,380.16 to the fire department for the purchase of SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus. However, they have additional funds that they weren't able to spend just because of timing and availability of equipment. So there is $9,471.74 left after they purchase their SCBA units that we are proposing that we put into the purchase of their rescue boat.
Are there any questions related to this item? Liz Mealy?
Just did the cost of the rescue boat go up? I thought we actually had funding for the remaining cost of the rescue boat.
We estimate the funds for the rescue boat to be at around 100,000. This is a little above that, but if there is funding left in the rescue boat, we'll put it into something else. We just have to spend the
Okay.
old money first. So the most important thing is that we put the old money into what's going to spend it first, and we spend it.
Got it. So basically we're moving 9,000 in, we're spending that 9,000 plus possibly an additional 6, and then maybe moving 9,000 back out to another
Yeah,
project.
maybe with, yep, we'll just keep moving.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Jamie.
Sure.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions related to this item? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We're gonna move on up then to item number 8 because we have another guest online. So
Resolution to accept the fiscal year 2024 audit reports.
can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Good evening, council. Well, we've been waiting a long time for this, but this is a resolution to accept the 2024 audit report. I do have Dustin from Mardissel on the line, and he has a PowerPoint that's up on the screen for the presentation for the 2024 audit.
Thank you. Everyone able to see my screen okay and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to report tonight. I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to keep things to a high level, but please feel free to stop me at any point if you have any additional questions. First off, I'm Dustin Starr with Mardissel CPAs. I served as the audit principal, and this is our first year working with the city and providing audit services. The reporting package that is currently in draft form but is ready to be finalized upon approval includes various documents and deliverables. The single audit includes the audited financial statements as well as additional reports over federal funding, communication of those charged with governance letter, the DCD annual audit report filing, a legal ad that is summarized from the DCD annual report, as well as the single audit data collection form that's required to be included along with a copy of the single audit to the federal clearinghouse. So to start things off, our required audit communications, management responsibilities versus the auditor's responsibilities, the books and records and information is the city's responsibility. We are engaged to prepare the financial statements. However, the financial statements, including the footnote disclosures, is all derived from the information provided by management. Our responsibility as the independent auditor is then to provide audit opinions. I'm going to touch on each of these 3 opinions in a following slide. However, there's 3 reports that we issue: a financial statement driven opinion, an opinion on government auditing standards, and then an opinion on uniform guidance over federal funding that was expended during the year. Included within the financial statements include significant accounting policies, all of which adhere to generally accepted accounting practices. Accounting estimates, all financial statements have an element of estimates found within them. The 2 largest estimates include the liability for pension and OPEBs. OPEBs is other post-employment benefits, particularly relating to insurances provided to retirees. Those liabilities are actuarially determined and included within the financial statements based off of the information that's provided from management to the actuary and then reviewed and audited by us. Sensitive disclosures found within the financial statements in Note 1 includes an update to the repayment of FTA funds. This is a footnote that was also reported in the prior year and continues with some additional disclosure around that repayment agreement. I'm glad to report back we had no significant corrected misstatements and no significant audit adjustments. Therefore, the information that's being reviewed on a routine basis is factual and does agree in conjunction with the audited financial statements. Also glad to report back we had no disagreements or difficulties with management in performing our audit procedures. Upon the conclusion of the audit, we will obtain management representations, essentially a letter that's given to us to note that anything that we inquired about, the information that we received was all factual and that nothing was withheld from us. We're not aware of any consultations with other independent accountants, and we had no issues discussed that were contingent upon us being retained as the independent auditors. So now the audit results. We had an unmodified or a clean audit opinion on the government funds, the business type activities, and each major fund and aggregate remaining fund information, and an adverse opinion on the aggregately discreted presented component unit. This is consistent with the prior year results. That adverse opinion is due to the fact that the Williamsport Parking Authority is not included in the financial reporting entity. However, under government auditing and government accounting standards, that entity should be included within the financial statements. That information is not readily available and up to date as audited information for the calendar year 2024. Therefore, there is an adverse opinion on such and a related finding regarding that exclusion from the reporting entity. Uniform guidance results. So this is then discussing the federal awards that were expended during the year. Our major program in making up, the significant portion of the total of the 5.4 million that was expended during the year was for the state and local fiscal recovery funds, referred to as the ARPA funds. Single audit reporting, we had a unmodified or clean opinion on compliance. However, a finding over internal controls over reporting, similar to a repeat finding from the prior year. However, the internal controls over that reporting has continued to improve and did not affect our opinion on compliance. Therefore, we're stating that the information itself was not indicative of a misstatement of what's being reported as required under the federal expenditures. However, improvements over internal controls to continue to improve that reporting process was noted. Reporting structure, governmental financial statements are relatively complex. There's an entity-wide financial statement that has a long-term approach and includes long-term assets and liabilities. You have fund financial statements that's found on page 3 through 12, and that is what most are used to understanding and seeing as part of an overall day-to-day operational standpoint. It includes more of a short-term focus. Then you're required to have note disclosures about both the entity-wide and fund financial statements. Found within the fund financial statements, there's government funds and business type funds. The only business type fund the city currently reports is an internal service fund that then provides services to the governmental funds. So then moving on to some financial highlights, overall change in fund balance. And I will state that a lot of the graphs and information I'm about to present is pertaining directly to the fund financial statements. So across the board, you have the funds that qualify as major funds, and then the aggregate non-major, an overall positive increase in fund balance for the calendar year 24 ended at a positive 1.5 million, and is then made up across those categories. Focusing in on the general fund fund balance as of December 24th was a total of 12.5 million and is then broken up among these three categories. Unassigned fund balance, in which there's no restriction or earmarking for that particular section of fund balance of 3.6 million. Committed of 5.9 million for emergency reserve funds, and then 3 million assigned for future budget deficits. Having trouble with this slide. You're not able to see the I'm having trouble with this slide. You can't see the legend or anything, can you?
No, we cannot.
Mm-mm.
1 second, I apologize.
How about you guys?
That's very odd. I'm going to go to a different view here.
Hey, Jamie, real quick.
Yeah.
That, the positive fund balance, the 1 million increase in the general fund and across the board 1.5, was that what we projected when we were working on the 26 budget?
Yes, all the numbers that were used in this audit were all used in the 24 budget, like in the 24 side of the
In the-
budget. So
in the-
yep.
well, in the prep out
2026
for
budget
26.
reflected every number that they got, so.
Okay.
I
was afraid.
apologize for that. The slideshow view for some reason is messing up the legend, so I'm going to use this view. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to the other governmental funds. So this is everything except for the general fund. Total of 7.1 million, and then is earmarked for these particular funds, or for these particular purposes, sorry. Restricted for the home program of 1.1 million. Restricted for grants, various grants that must be used, in which those grants have restrictions for. Restricted for liquid fuels. Restricted for other purposes, which is a very small percentage of approximately $20,000, and then committed capital projects making up a large portion of 2.2 million as of December 24. Moving on to the general fund revenues, budget versus actual. You can see the large categories that make up the overall revenue budget, with by far the largest portion being taxes. The dark blue being the budget, the light blue being the actual taxes came in over budget. Licenses, permits, interest, and rents also came in over budget. Intergovernmental revenue slightly under budget. And then all other areas slightly over budget. There was an overall net positive, meaning actual revenues exceeded the budget of approximately 600,000. Then moving on to the expense side, here all categories had positive budget versus actual, meaning that the actual expenditures were less than budgeted. And the overall budget versus actual variance was 1.5 million, meaning 1.5 million less than budgeted for 2024. Okay. So then moving on, as I mentioned, the governmental financial statements require also a long-term look. In the government-wide financial statements, you're required then to report long-term assets, including capital assets. Here's a summary of capital assets that are reported within the financial statements. Total depreciated and undepreciated items, items not being depreciated, including land and any construction in progress, of approximately 2.6 million. Capital assets being depreciated included various categories. Net of depreciation of approximately 35 million. For overall governmental activities, capital assets of approximately 38 million as of December 2024. Additionally, found in the government-wide financial statements is long-term debt. The city has the following bonds and notes payable for an ending balance as of December 31, 2024 of approximately $15 million of bonds and debt, including notes payable.
That's our full debt amount currently that we're holding?
Yes, that would be the full debt amount. If you look at the current portion, 1.3 million will be the debt service of just principal due in the following year, meaning as of what was paid in 2025.
Understood. But I had thought that we were still carrying a little bit more debt than that with the debt we absorbed from RBT. 15 million is the total right now. Across all of our, aside from,
Yeah, I mean, these are the numbers that.
okay,
that is- I'd
aside
have to
from,
look, yeah.
just, yeah, okay.
I mean, these are the bonds that we
Okay,
have.
aside from obviously the unaudited parking authority, correct?
Yeah, their portion is included in that.
It is?
I believe so.
So that includes all debt across all
Correct.
branches?
Yep, all debt issuance, so bond issuance that are in the name of the city.
Yes,
Okay.
which the parking authority is included in ours.
Right, right.
And then
Okay.
we'll just bill them.
Got it.
Yes. Now this includes
It's not good
bonds
news,
and
it's a little
notes.
bit of
So
a-
I'm sorry.
Sorry, no. You
Okay,
can
this
go on.
includes bonds and notes only. So there is also payables and receivables related to ongoing activity between those entities. So this is just including any long-term debt.
Mhm. Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Additionally, pension liabilities and OPEB liabilities are required to also be included in the government-wide financial statements. And this takes a long-term approach of what is held in trust by the pension funds versus what the overall liability is expected to be. This graph here shows how sensitive that can be depending on if there's a 1% increase in the overall earnings of the trust funds or a 1% decrease in the trust fund. So think of it as if the investments outperform what the actuaries are expecting, that liability would significantly go down. So that would be the items that are moving down towards the smaller amounts or on the right side. If the assets underperform by 1%, that liability would increase significantly. Overall, the sum of the net pension liability of all three pension plans was approximately $9 million as of year-end 2024. One plan actually dipped into what we call a net pension asset, meaning that the trust funds are in excess of the expected liability. That also relates to an overall positive investment year. If the investment rate would decrease only 1%, that would then, here in this case, being the red line, would actually turn into a pension liability. So this graph is just to depict this liability changes significantly from one year to the next, depending on how well the pension trust funds perform from one year to the next.
Can I follow up on that real quick too?
Sure.
You said that, so 2024, in other words, was a good year for our pensions.
Correct.
Okay, and a good year for the stock market, consequently.
Yes.
Have you delved into 25 to look at those? I'm just kind of curious.
We have
are
not.
currently, yeah.
This is also a actuarial provided information.
Right.
So the city's hired actuary puts
They
all
don't have
this
our information
information
for
together
25 yet.
depending.
The actuary
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I was, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we're working off the 23 valuation now, but
They just requested the information for 2025. So we'll be providing that to the actuary soon.
Got it.
Just hasn't been gotten there yet.
yeah, of course. Anyway, good to know that we were better off there for a second at least.
And also
uh,
too, this
Mhm.
liability is a long-term approach. So if you think of more of how things are being funded from one year to the next, all MMOs or the minimum municipal obligation that's being paid into those plans are being met from one year to the next. So if you
Right.
kind of think of, you continue to have the operating funds and make those payments as they become due, that liability will continue to shrink depending on how well the pension plan is funded. Most pension plans are not 100% funded because this liability is a long-term approach. And as you continue to fund that based off of what your annual contributions are, you'll be good in the end. So the
But the OPEB
liability
bill-
itself is typically something that isn't a major concern. The more of the concern is, are you continuing to make your annual contributions in which the city has?
But we are not funding our OPEBs at all, right? So this graph does not reflect the other post-employment benefits.
Yep, and that's actually that's a good segue right into the OPEB liability. So this liability is significantly higher than the pension plan. The big difference here is exactly what was said. There is no trust for the OPEB plan. The state requirement is that you must have a trust for your pension plans. There is no statutory requirement to have a trust for an OPEB plan. Across the board in local governments in Pennsylvania, the OPEB liability is significantly higher than pension plans because most municipalities don't have a trust for their OPEB plan. The fund as you go idea for OPEB plans is typically how things are funded. So as insurance premiums come due, that's paid with any operating reserves that are there rather than having the trust make those payments. This is then depicting kind of the same idea. However, we looked at how well the investments perform. Well, with the OPEBs, there is no trust. So this is then looking at the healthcare cost trend rate. So if healthcare costs would go up 1%, the increase in liability would be about $11 million. If costs would go down 1%, it would decrease by about a $9 million. Any other questions, financial highlights, or regarding the audit opinions?
Doesn't seem like we have any here.
Okay.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, and I would like to thank Jamie and all of her crew. First year audit, definitely have a lot of learning to do, and cross referencing each other with what we call different things, and just to turn the audit around essentially in 3 months. It had to take good cooperation from everyone from the city, as well as our staff as well too. So I really appreciate the opportunity of working with the city, and turning around an audit in a relatively short period of time, especially a first year for us.
The question that I have then is the 2025 audit. Obviously, we're closing out books on that, and we've got other things that are coming in at that point in time.
Yep, with the approval of this tonight, we will now be in compliance of our city audits. Our 2025 audit will be due in the fall. Dustin, I think we talked about starting that in June.
Yeah, we have time scheduled to start a little bit before then, with the idea of wrapping up no later than shortly after the June to July timeframe.
Yeah, so the preparation for the audit is we've started. So we're trying to close out all of the 2025 stuff, still getting in the 2025, the end of the year stuff, and then it'll be crunch time, and we should be on time for our 2025 audit.
Liz.
Just a question. So at this point, we are, not that we're eager to go out for further debt or anything like that, but the city is in a fiscally responsible position. Dustin, in your opinion, and you probably have no opinion on this, but does the audit that you just provided, coupled with a clean audit for 23 as well, effectively make up for a handful of years where we have?
That's a really good question. That has to be determined by
A bank.
bond counsel, or who is willing to back the debt, essentially at that point. I can't say that I know that question, the answer to that question off the top of my head. But I do think that having strong financial position, in most cases, hopefully would outweigh any prior year issues with filings, right? If you're able to issue debt and show that you're able to pay that, and have a plan of having everything continue to be filed, I think that would be a very positive outlook in order to possibly issue in the near future.
Yeah, it would seem to me that it would also be an indication that we continue to pay our debt even while we somewhat had our books in disarray. So you consider us to be in a strong financial position comparable to other communities in the Commonwealth?
Yes. The OPEB liability and pension liability definitely skews things. If you focus in on your fund financial statements, that's where you show a lot more strength, and that's consistent amongst most municipalities. As you continue to grow fund balance as well too, as I mentioned, it was a positive 1.5 million roughly of an increase in fund balance. There was an increase in 2023. Don't know exactly where things are at in 2025 since we haven't started that process. But if you have consistent growth, that will definitely help as well too, to prove that you're able to take on debt and make those debt service payments.
And it does not hurt our financial position, the fact that we used several $1 million worth of American Rescue Plan Act funding to balance our budget in 24.
It
Sorry.
can. Yeah, it definitely can. However,
I guess what I'm saying to you is 25 is going to begin to look a little thinner on the ground, perhaps because there won't be that balancing happening.
Jamie,
right.
maybe you can talk a little bit more with specifics, but I believe revenue loss for 2024 was significantly less than what was in the past. Where then expenditures that were left, or I'm sorry, the funds that were left and spent were earmarked for expenditures, not all of which necessarily are reoccurring expenditures. Yes, there's definitely things that were spent that will improve, equipment and such. But once that equipment is purchased, there might not be as much need to incur those expenditures in the future. Kind of where you get into that situation is where all of the American Rescue funds were used for revenue loss. And in that situation, municipalities are in a much harder standpoint when all of those funds have dried up. So essentially, 100% used towards balancing your budget and not necessarily having earmarked expenditures that eventually will fall off once those funds are spent.
Okay. Thank you very much, Leslie.
Yeah, we were pretty good with the spread out, so I
Yeah.
agree with everything he just said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions related to the audit?
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. Thank you, Dustin, but Jamie, to you and your team, this is a whole lot of legwork, and this is great. We got a completed audit. So
Hey,
nice
we're
work.
compliant.
Yes, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Seeing, hearing nothing else, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. So we will get back to our regularly scheduled program at the moment. We will go up to item number 5.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Williamsport placing a government study commission question on the 2026 primary election ballot and designating the number of members to serve on said commission in final reading.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions regarding the second vote for this item?
I have no questions, but I would like to thank Adam Yoder for presenting it for me last time.
No problem.
Seeing, hearing nothing else, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Item number 6, please.
An ordinance repealing and reenacting the section 111.02 of the codified ordinances in first reading.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All right, so my name is listed here, so I guess I'll be taking the majority of this one, but then I'll turn it over for the finer things to our solicitor. So this is a point that had been brought up at the beginning of last year. Councilman Mackey felt very strongly about it, and we stewed over it for a while. So we decided that we were going to take our committee structure and change that up a little bit. And rather than eliminating all of our committees, because that would do a number on our ordinance that we have on the books already, we decided to simply add what we are going to be calling the Committee of the Whole. This will allow us as a body of council to meet, discuss things at committee like we normally would, whether it be the Finance Committee, Public Safety, Public Works. And if you went through the ordinance itself, we have economic revitalization, we have housing needs, we have, where was the other one? Committee of Transportation Oversight. There's quite a bit of other committees out there. So this is just going to simply allow us to meet, whether it be all of us at once or a minimum of 3 of us, and have the discussions that we normally would at a committee meeting. Now it's up to us in the meantime, between now and 2 weeks from now, to have the discussion about when the appropriate time is going to be. This will make us much more efficient as well when it comes to getting members of council together that have areas of expertise when it comes to the particular items on the agenda for the committee meeting, as well as getting members of the administration together so that way they can use their time efficiently and not attend 3 or 4 different committee meetings to talk about something and then have to follow up with somebody else after the fact because they weren't there and so on and so forth. So, Mr. Grimes, anything that I missed in that?
Not really. I mean, committees are generally administrative functions of city council. So you guys have control over how committees operate. You have chosen in your ordinance is to lay out how those committees work. Adding this as a committee of the whole, in addition to the other committees, means that you don't have to change all kinds of other pieces of your ordinance, but it also allows you to operate as you are for right now until you're ready to decide and to work through how a committee of the whole works because it's administrative. So you guys get to decide how those function. But we've kept the same quorum requirements for the committee of the whole, but otherwise it just gives you some more flexibility, which is not unusual. There's other municipalities and some the size of Williamsport, including I think Lancaster and Hazelton, that both use a similar method as this for their committees.
Thank you very much. Liz Mealy.
I missed a lot of the discussion on this, so you'll excuse me if I'm retreading things, but just so I understand, the proposal then is that we will have a bi-weekly committee of the whole meeting prior to a council meeting to vet agenda items.
That is correct.
And then individual committees will meet as necessary for public safety related things, housing needs related things.
That's correct.
In the way that some of our committees have functioned for quite a while, because some of them have not done much lifting at all. The proposal then for the committee of the whole is an in-person meeting?
No, it is not a proposal for an in-person meeting.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that is the mention of a vote. Because there have been some sort of, I don't know, there have been
Yeah.
issues with us voting in a in-person meeting, like a Zoom meeting.
Correct. And
Okay.
the way that we've handled that in our committee meetings prior to this was simply not
voting.
recommending anything for
Okay.
a vote
So,
in that committee
okay,
meeting.
so the proposal is effectively the same, then we will have a single committee meeting probably on a Tuesday, and it will be a Zoom meeting. And it will be a whoever shows up sort of affair.
What the goal is and what we need to discuss amongst ourselves is assigning certain members of council
Okay.
for a 2 or 3 month stretch.
Okay.
Make sure that if they can't be there, they can find the alternate within the group.
Okay.
However, if it's a time that's advantageous for everybody and we all happen to be there, we all happen to be there.
Okay. All right.
Well, I understand the idea of not doing away with all of the other committees, but as I see it, while those will still be included in the ordinance, this committee of the whole kind of is taking their place.
Correct.
Right. So that we are not, we're only meeting in committee for the most important things that need that time, right? So that could be a public safety issue. It could be a finance issue. It could be a public works issue, but instead of assigning it to one of these specific committees, we're just going to all meet in this committee of a whole to discuss the issue, right?
That is correct. And should we run into an issue that we have to spend a little bit more time on, we need to dedicate to something else, we can always use those other committees for those reasons. If somebody has to do a little extra legwork and we decide that we want to bump it to that committee and then they want to present it to the committee as a whole, we can certainly do that. It seems a little bit more than we would need to do, but we have that option if we would like.
Yeah, again, the entire reason I brought this up was because it feels like on any given 2-week agenda, there's maybe 1 or 2 things at best that may need a little bit more clarity for our purposes here at the whole entire city council meeting. So the idea that we wouldn't be able to get through that type of thing at the committee of the whole, it kind of seems to defeat the purpose if we're going to have the committee of the whole, but still put things down to the public safety or the finance or
Again, I see no reason why we would need to do that. Maybe when we get into this home rule discussion,
Right.
we might have to use those committees because they might have questions and it just might be more advantageous to do it that way. But again, eliminating them, I think, would cause more issues in the short term as we start to work our way through the new committee structure.
And then again, to Councilwoman Mealy's point, I don't know if it's a big deal or not that we have the term vote in the actual ordinance, because she is correct. If we meet virtually, it then just becomes a discussion. There's no vote being taken. So I don't know if that is a language that needs to be changed or modified in some way.
My suggestion, because this is an administrative function, is to allow it in the most broad way. Certainly we can change it however you'd like, but if you leave those other committees and you leave the language of vote, that allows you to meet a committee of the whole, have all your committees meet and have a vote if you want to. But it also allows you to have a committee of the whole that meets virtually and doesn't vote, and none of the other committees meet. It allows you that flexibility to decide administratively how you want to handle it. And if it ends up just being a work session type of meeting on Zoom without a vote, that's still allowed under the ordinances. And it doesn't, the ordinances don't require something to go to public safety or finance. It just says that the committees have to hear something related to their committee, and a committee of the whole obviously can discuss anything it would like. So you could send all of your items to the committee of the whole, but the way that it's drafted now gives you the most flexibility. But if the intention is we don't want the other committees operating at all, and we don't want to vote, we can certainly make those changes, but it still allows you to do that with how it's written now.
If I can kind of jump in here, I think some additional, the way I kind of interpret this, and I think it's good. When you think about what our solicitor has said about flexibility, I mean, I think historically, when you go back, if you'd go back and do some research on when these committees were formed way back in the day, you probably saw a lot different of a approach that prior councils had taken, right? You probably saw a lot more like diving into individual projects, initiative that were maybe council driven that happened at that level. We haven't done that because frankly, there's been a pile of stuff that's just, I don't know that we've had the ability or time with a lot of everything going on in the past 6 years, right? But I think, kind of looking forward, I think it's good to keep these because you think about the stamp program that is still ongoing that we're going to have to go through for the next couple of years. You think about diving into quarterly reviews of our spending and our budget. Those are really good examples of projects that and specific oversight of the finance committee. The county pulled back their LRTA, for example, a couple of days ago, and that's going to impact our LRTA. And so when you think about the economic development response or aspect of that, that's a really good, thing to focus on for that committee. So, and the membership of those is set up that it has the appropriate people already that need to do that. So I think, from a project initiative perspective, we have the ability, I think that Mr. Grimes is saying the flexibility to do that pretty quickly rather than going through the process of, establishing an ad hoc committee, all that kind of stuff. So I know this is a lot of in the weeds minutia, but I think the setup makes perfect sense. And I think it's good.
Liz.
I agree with you there, Adam. I would, however, encourage us. I know that conventionally, unless you're planning to break with that convention, Eric, the president of council does not serve on any of the subcommittees, with the
That's
exception of the
correct.
committee of the whole. Point of that being, since we've had a change in presidency, we should reappoint members of those individual committees ASAP, because I do feel that we should allocate home rule as an issue to the Economic Revitalization Committee or the Finance Committee. And that is something that we need to move on relatively quickly. So that I would say should be carried forward by an individual committee, which one, yeah, but.
Is that a volunteering, raising your hand?
I'm happy to if you want, but, and I was already the chair of the finance committee, so I can continue in that role, or I can run ERC. I don't really care. But that is something that I think rises to the level of it. A committee should be meeting about that on a biweekly or monthly basis for a little bit here.
Yeah.
And until we perhaps have a home rule commission that takes over that role. And I don't have any other things that I think need to immediately get sent to some committee for multiple discussions, but that seems like an important one.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And again, I wanted to get this in place first as we started to figure out that structure, and then over the next 2 weeks, get input from everyone.
Yeah.
And certainly make sure that this is the best use of our time.
Yeah. No, I think this is great. I'll openly say, I think, over the summer is when I'll happily raise my hand to actively be taking a spot on the committee of the whole for, bi-weekly vetting of things for sure with my work schedule, but, on demand, I'm happy to fill in where I need to as well, so.
Are there any other questions related to this item? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We'll move to item number 7.
An ordinance to transfer ordinance number 7, 2024 budget.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Livermore.
Hello again. You guys should be used to seeing this transfer ordinance. After every audit, we usually go through and clean everything up. So that's what this is. This is just an ordinance cleaning up all the budgets, moving little bits here and there to make sure that everything is all in compliance.
Are there any questions related to this item? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We will
Thank you.
move to item number 9 then.
Resolution authorizing the purchase of one 2026 Ford F Super Cab and one 2025 Ford F-350 box truck.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Livermore.
Good evening, members of council. What you have before you is a resolution authorize and purchase one 2026 F-350 and one 2025 F-350. These trucks will be purchased through Stuckey Ford in the amount of $120,031. Funding source is the Parks Capital Projects. These two trucks will be replacing two 2011 GMC 2500s. Is there any questions?
Liz Mealy.
Just, do we think that the vehicles that are being replaced have any value? I'm assuming they're gonna go out and miss it one way or the other, but are they?
Yeah, they'll have, they'll have some value.
Okay. Thanks.
Seeing and hearing nothing else?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Move to item number 10.
Resolution authorizing an agreement between the Williamsport Bureau of Fire and ESO.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Welcome, Chief.
President Bider, member of council, bringing this resolution forward to you tonight. This was brought previously it was brought to you last year when we purchased it, but it was not brought as an annual subscription. And we're looking to do that as an annual subscription, not to exceed $14,342.73. This is the recording software that we use for our fire incidents as well as our EMS incidents. And we're required to record those incidents for the state to be eligible for grants and such. So that's why we need to do this.
Are there any questions from members of council regarding this item? Liz Mealy?
I'm so sorry. Where's the funding coming from again?
This is out of our budget.
Okay. All right. And was budgeted in as in you're not reallocating anything from your budget.
Correct. This was here last year and this company purchased the previous company we were using. But when the resolution was done last year, it was not done as an annual subscription. So we had to bring it back to do it again. So we can keep it under that same budget number.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
The question that I have then, Chief, is going to be in relation to South Williamsport now and having our firemen over there. This software is helping record that data.
Correct.
And getting us reports to
Correct.
know what it is exactly.
Yeah, we can with this here, we're still working with the company on, as I'm learning, how to generate those reports so we can actually identify each unit when we hired overtime, when we're, normally staffed to provide that service over there, or whether we're doing it just out of our normal roles of manpower.
Wonderful. It'll be nice to see how this reporting software works when we get our first quarterly report from you.
Yep.
And so it will allow us to track actual cost. That is to say,
We can,
OT versus regular hours.
Correct,
Is there a
correct.
dollar,
We can show-
dollar amounts in there?
yeah, we can show when we hire overtime or whether we had enough staff on that day to do it without.
That's great.
Good.
Any other questions on this item from members of council? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you,
Chief.
Council.
We'll move to item number 11.
Resolution uncollected real estate taxes for 2025.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Welderoff, welcome.
Good evening, President Bider and fellow council. Before you, tonight is a resolution, for uncollected tax, debt here. In the amount of $1,213,418.68. It is in my opinion that the treasurer's office this year did its due diligence in trying to collect these taxes. We were able to collect $14,567,157.72. The resolution further is asking that the uncollected debt go to the county's assessments office for further collection efforts. One thing I would like to, some things I'd like to acknowledge is I was looking at some sheets, and that's about 90% of the debt that we were supposed to collect, we were able to collect this year. It's about a 2% difference from last year. Given the fact that the current role that I'm in was vacated back in October, I would like to acknowledge Wendy Williams and Katie Shoemaker, two of the individuals at work in the treasurer's office that selfishly stepped up, took on more responsibility in that vacancy. So if it wasn't for their efforts, I believe that the amount collected would have been much lower, as long along with other processes within the office of other taxes and operations.
Well said. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz.
Yes, and Mr. Walteroth, I want to thank you. I think that was really nice because people don't get acknowledged at times, and we both know how much work is put into this. So my vote is still yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We'll move to item number 12.
Resolution exonerating the city treasurer from collection of the 2025 real estate taxes.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Welderoff.
So council, this motion exonerates me, as it's very detailed in it, exonerates me from having the responsibility of collecting the rest of the outstanding debt. The Lycoming County Assessments Office would take over that responsibility, and my focus of new charge would be collecting the new taxes for 2026.
Something pretty standard. These past two, we do them every year. So are there any questions regarding this item? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
council.
All right, we will move down then to item number 17, certificate of appropriateness for 734 West 4th Street. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Are there any questions regarding the certificate of appropriateness here? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Item number 18, except for filing the controller's report from November 2025 and HARB minutes from December 16th of 2025. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions regarding the except for filing? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Milliken,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Ms. Mealy,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Announcements, the next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be held on Thursday, February 5th, 2026 at 7 PM here in Trade and Transit 2 on the third floor. Upcoming meetings, Monday, February 2nd at 12 PM, we have the Planning Commission. Thursday, February 5th at 7 PM, we have our city council meeting as mentioned. Do we have any comments tonight from members of the public? Any comments from members of council?
I just have one question real quick. Chief, when are you gonna start growing your mustache? All right. Thanks.
Eric.
Somebody, yeah, I'm sorry, John.
Sorry. Yeah. Sometimes it feels pointless, but just it sounds like we're getting a lot of snow. Right. So just everybody, the 6 people who are listening, be patient. The roads will get cleared. We only have so many people driving those plow trucks. Don't go out if you don't need to go out. If you get stuck, you're just causing more problems. So everybody be careful and stay safe.
The announcement that I have is we will be having an executive session tonight to discuss legal matters after our council meeting. So any comments from the administration? Any comments from news media? I believe anyone's here from news media. All right, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful